Two terrifying beams of light, under the watchful eyes of countless onlookers, finally collided in a manner so intense that it seemed to burn into their retinas. Sure. However, the expected earth-shattering explosion never came. Instead, the blinding lights intertwined fiercely, eroding each other with silent ferocity. In the absence of sound, a chilling sense of brutality permeated the air. Everyone's gaze was locked onto the two beams of light, each occupying half of the sky. They knew well that this strike would determine the victor of this battle. "Boss, what's wrong?" Little Ling King, Ling Zhan, suddenly noticed a change in Yuan Seng's expression. He was momentarily stunned and couldn't help but ask, "That brat's attack, something's off?" Yuan Seng's eyes were fixed on the beam emerging from the light array. His voice now carried a hint of gloom. Although he couldn't quite pinpoint what was wrong, his instincts told him that the light array Lin Dong had formed was far from ordinary. Ling Zhan's heart skipped a beat at Yuan Seng's reaction, but he quickly chuckled. "You really think that brat's attack can hold off Lei Qian's Thunder Emperor Codex?" Yuan Seng's face darkened slightly, but he remained silent. "Impossible." Seeing his response, Ling Zhan's pupil shrank slightly, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. "Lei Qian's attack is weakening," Yuan Seng muttered darkly. Hearing this, Ling Zhan immediately looked up, and his expression suddenly changed. He, too, noticed that the once violent thunder light in the sky was now quietly losing its intensity, while the beam from Lin Dong's light array remained steady, yet it radiated an unstoppable force. How can this be? Ling Zhan's eyes gradually darkened. As those words left Ling Zhan's lips, they echoed in Lei Qian's mind as well. He had already sensed the weakening of his attack, and a trace of disbelief spread across his otherwise fierce expression. Impossible. This disbelief lasted only a moment on Lei Qian's face before being replaced by an even more ferocious look. He simply couldn't believe that Lin Dong, with his mere peak of the 7th Nirvana stage strength, could withstand his Thunder Emperor Codex. Boom. At that moment, Lei Qian unleashed his primordial energy without reservation. It surged out from his body, transforming into overwhelming thunder light, frantically pouring into the intertwined beams of light, desperately trying to crush Lin Dong's resistance. Yet, no matter how much power he pushed forth, the strange beam from Lin Dong's light array remained unmoved. As it clashed with the thunder light, the wild energy was rapidly being broken down and disintegrated into nothingness. Lin Dong's face remained as calm as ever, as though what was happening before him wasn't surprising. However, as the beam of light gradually overpowered the thunder light, a trace of paleness crossed his expression. Although the ancient cosmic formation possessed tremendous power, its consumption of primordial energy and spiritual energy was equally staggering. Lin Dong took a deep breath of the scorching air, and in the next moment, a sharp light suddenly burst forth from his eyes. His hand seals changed with lightning speed, and a deep voice escaped his throat. "Break." As that word left Lin Dong's mouth, the previously restrained beam of light erupted with shocking force. Faced with this sudden burst of aggression, the once overwhelming thunder light rapidly crumbled before everyone's astonished eyes. Whoosh! The strange beam of light, like an unstoppable force, tore through the sea of thunder. Under the countless shocked gazes, it barreled straight toward the equally stunned Lei Qian. Lei Qian lost. Qingzhu, who had been watching the battle unfold, finally whispered those words. Beneath her veil, her usually composed expression wavered slightly. Even someone as serene as her found it difficult to remain entirely calm after witnessing such a scene. A smile of joy bloomed on Su Ro's face as she exclaimed, "I knew big brother Lin Dong wouldn't lose." Beside her, Wu Kun rubbed his face awkwardly before forcing a smile, attempting to mask the shock in his eyes. Had he not seen it with his own eyes, Wu Kun would have found it hard to believe that Lin Dong could truly emerge victorious in a head-to-head confrontation with someone as powerful as Lei Qian. This time, it was no fluke. Lei Qian had even unleashed the Thunder Emperor Codex, and yet the result. Boom. The strange beam of light pierced through the sea of thunder, and amidst the countless awestruck gazes, it struck Lei Qian like a bolt of lightning. The moment it hit, Everyone could clearly see the thunderous primordial energy surrounding Lei Qian's body rapidly dissipating at an astonishing speed. Bang! A muffled, jarring sound echoed through the sky. Lei Qian's face instantly paled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body, like a bird with broken wings, plummeted helplessly toward the ground. Lin Dong's gaze was icy as he watched Lei Qian fall. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. With a fierce flap of the azure dragon wings behind him, his figure shot out like a lightning bolt amidst the cries of shock. In an instant, he appeared before Lei Qian, his hand clenched tightly around a black tree trunk, which he then swung down fiercely. Smash! The black tree trunk, imbued with terrifying force, smashed into Lei Qian's body with a resounding thud. The impact sent waves of power through him, and the sound of bones snapping echoed out. PFT. Lei Qian spat out another mouthful of blood. His eyes widened in terror as he stared at the young face before him. The savagery on that face surpassed even his own, and in Lin Dong's eyes, Lei Qian saw something unmistakable, killing intent. Lin Dong intended to kill him. This realization sent a chilling fear surging through Lei Qian's heart. Lin Dong's ruthlessness had far exceeded his expectations. Seeing the terror on Lei Qian's face, Lin Dong's already pale face twisted into a more menacing smile. He had never shown mercy in battle. On this journey, he had become acutely aware of the hostility Yuan Sect bore toward them. This enmity was irreconcilable, and Lin Dong was certain that, in the end, Yuan Sect would make a move against them. Since that was inevitable, why not take this opportunity to cripple one of their hands? He would kill little Lei Qian right here. Killing intent surged in Lin Dong's eyes. With another motion, he raised the black tree trunk once more, ready to bring it down on Lei Qian's head. Young brat, how dare you? Just as Lin Dong was about to deliver the final blow, an angry shout resounded from the sky. Little Yuan King, Yuan Song, had leaped forward, attempting to intervene. Senior brother Qingzhu. From afar, Qingten saw Yuan Song making his move, and a frosty look appeared on her beautiful face. Whoosh! Her voice had barely faded when Qingzhu, who stood beside her, shot forward like a bolt of lightning, appearing in front of Yuan Song to block his advance. Whoosh whoosh! As Yuan Song was blocked, Ling Zhan's expression shifted. With a wave of his hand, his figure shot forward, followed closely by the 6 spirit generals of Yuan Sect and several powerful disciples. Take action! EngSubs, who had been watching the Yuan Sect forces closely, didn't hesitate. The moment she gave the command, she instantly darted out. Behind her, Wang Yin, Huanhuan, and Qingyi followed suit. In Huanhuan's hands, the Crimson Heaven Phoenix Zither reappeared, signaling that she was fully prepared for battle. Both sides moved in unison, their most elite forces taking to the skies. As they did, the disciples' eyes turned fierce, and their primordial energy surged violently into the sky. In mere moments, the tension in the air escalated sharply, and a chaotic battle seemed imminent. The forces on both sides faced off in the sky, their immense primordial energy surging upward, making the atmosphere feel stifling. Sparks began to fly within the charged tension. The once noisy world below fell eerily silent. Many from other factions had their gazes locked onto the sky, a hint of wariness in their eyes, fearing that if the battle between Yuan Sect and Dao Sect broke out, they might be dragged into the chaos. Qingzhu, do you really intend to interfere in the grudge between my Yuan Sect and Dao Sect? Yuan Song's expression darkened as he coldly glared at Qingzhu, who blocked his path. His voice was low, laced with a chilling threat. I'm just fulfilling my duty, Qingzhu replied with a calm smile, unfazed by Yuan Song's implicit warning. Lin Dong, if you kill Lei Qian, Yuan Sect will become your mortal enemy. Ling Zhan had already closed his folding fan, his gaze fixed intently on Lin Dong, who had his hand clamped around Lei Qian's throat. His tone was cold and deliberate. Aren't we already at that point? Lin Dong replied with a smile. His pale young face, under the gaze of Ling Zhan and the Dao Sect disciples, suddenly appeared much more imposing. Lin Dong, are you really planning to confront my Yuan Sect here and now? Yuan Song's eyelids drooped slightly as his hand slowly gripped the iron sword at his side. Deep in his eyes, a strange gray light flickered. Trust me, that's an outcome you don't want. Even with Chen Gui's help, you won't be able to stop me. As he said this, Yuan Song lifted his head, a cold and bloodthirsty smile slowly spreading across his not-so-handsome face. Don't push me, or Chen Gui won't be enough to hold me back. Lin Dong's pupils contracted slightly as he stared at Yuan Song. For some reason, a faint sense of discomfort welled up inside him. Oh? Then I'd like to see you try, Chen Gui responded with a faint smile, his ghost mask exuding a chilling aura. Is that so? Yuan Song's expression grew increasingly sinister. As the malice in his words became more evident, Ling Zhan and the others behind him leaned forward slightly, their vast primordial energy surging out in waves. Sensing their movements, EngSubs, Wang Yin, and the other Dao Sect disciples behind Lin Dong tensed up immediately. Boom, boom. Just as the tension between both sides reached a breaking point, a sudden rumbling sound echoed from the center of the basin. Countless startled gazes turned toward the source, and they saw the space in that area begin to distort. Within the distorted space, ancient halls seemed to appear, radiating an ancient aura formed by the passage of time. The aura seeped through the cracks, permeating the heavens and earth. The ancient vault of heaven burning. As this strange phenomenon unfolded, a chorus of excited shouts erupted through the land. The crowd's gazes instantly turned fiery and even greedy. Everyone here had gathered not to witness a fight between Yuan Sect and Dao Sect, but for the ancient vault of heaven burning hidden within these lands. Until now, they had been patiently waiting, shifting their focus to the battle. But now, the true prize had appeared, and their attention followed. The ancient vault is about to emerge. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes as he gazed at the distorted space. He hadn't expected it to appear at such a moment. Although the space was twisting, the faint outlines of ancient halls were visible through the distortion. However, the space showed no signs of fully opening, as if it lacked a key. The gazes of the crowd flickered back and forth before finally settling on Yuan Song. The reason they had come here was because Yuan Sect had announced that they could open the ancient vault. And now, it seemed that only Yuan Sect had the means to unlock it. Yuan Song noticed the growing focus on him, and his eyes flickered. He spoke calmly, Lin Dong. The reason we are all here is for the ancient vault of heaven burning. If you release Lei Qian, Yuan Sect will open the vault, and we can share the treasures within. But if you stubbornly refuse, then no one will be able to open the vault today. If you provoke the wrath of the crowd, I doubt you will want to bear the consequences. Yuan Song's words weren't hidden. Instead, they were deliberately amplified by his primordial energy, booming across the entire area and reaching every ear. This guy is sly, EngSubs muttered, her face changing slightly. Yuan Song was clearly trying to turn the crowd against Dao Sect, forcing them to release Lei Qian. His ploy was undeniably ruthless. Wang Yin and the others also wore dark expressions. They could feel the shift in the crowd's gaze. It wasn't friendly. Rather, it was filled with impatience and a subtle hint of hostility. What should we do now, Lin Dong? Wang Yin asked in a low voice. Yuan Song had pushed them into a corner with his words, and dragging things out any longer wouldn't do them any good. Lin Dong furrowed his brow slightly, his gaze fixed on Yuan Song before glancing at Lei Qian, whose face was red from being choked. After a brief pause, Lin Dong finally chuckled softly. Since Yuan Song is being so generous, it's only right for me to give him some face. It was merely a spar earlier. I had no intention of taking anyone's life. The disciples of Yuan Sect couldn't help but twitch at these words. They had all clearly sensed the killing intent emanating from Lin Dong earlier. They knew that just moments ago, he had been dead set on killing Lei Qian, which was entirely contrary to his current claims. Brother Lin Dong, you are indeed understanding, Yuan Song said with a smile, though the sinister undertone in his expression made it far from genuine. In that case, please release Lei Qian. Consider this spar your victory. As Yuan Song spoke these words, it was clear that he was swallowing his rage. With his status, Few in the Eastern Mystery region's younger generation could stand as his equals, let alone force him to lower himself like this. Despite Yuan Song's suppressed killing intent, he still maintained a smile, though one that sent chills down the spines of those who saw it. Lin Dong slightly tilted his head, meeting Yuan Song's gaze with a radiant smile of his own. Those observing this exchange couldn't help but remain silent. In a way, both individuals were similar, possessing immense patience. They both understood that a ferocious tiger might not be the most dangerous creature, but a venomous snake lying in wait to strike was far more terrifying. And Lin Dong and Yuan Song certainly fit into the latter category. What a pity! Lin Dong glanced at Lei Qian, who was still in his grasp, his lips curling slightly before, without any further hesitation, he flung him aside. However, no one noticed the faint black light that silently crept into Lei Qian's body as Lin Dong's hand left his throat. Lei Qian, thrown aside, was quickly caught by several Yuan Sect disciples. His face was pale as he glared at Lin Dong with venomous hatred. A roar of fury erupted from his throat. Lin Dong, when you fall into my hands, I'll make sure you can't live, but neither can you die. Yet, Lin Dong only smiled faintly, as if he hadn't heard Lei Qian's vicious outburst. So, we really underestimated you. Yuan Song's smile faded slightly when he saw Lin Dong release Lei Qian. He then said quietly, "It seems you're the most troublesome one among Dao Sect's participants this time. You flatter me." Lin Dong responded with a grin, which only fueled Lei Qian's barely suppressed rage. Even little Ling Zhan's face grew more twisted with malice. Only Yuan Song remained expressionless. However, this sect competition won't end so easily, Lin Dong. Believe me, you'll pay the price, Yuan Song said, staring at Lin Dong with a faint smile. Lin Dong nodded in agreement, his face still radiating a bright smile. But his next words caused even Yuan Song's composed demeanor to falter, his expression turning noticeably darker. "If you're done talking, let's open the ancient vault, shall we?" Lin Dong, do you really think that defeating Lei Qian once gives you the right to act arrogantly in front of Yuan Sect? Little Ling Zhan's face darkened again as he coldly shouted at Lin Dong. Yuan Song's indifferent expression also darkened momentarily before he managed to suppress it, his eyes gleaming with an icy chill as he stared at Lin Dong. With a wave of his hand, he turned and walked away. "There will come a time when you'll have to repay these petty victories, Lin Dong. Let's see if you can still smile then." Yuan Song's cold voice, filled with murderous intent, echoed as he left. It was clear to all that this most outstanding disciple of Yuan Sect's younger generation had been truly angered by Lin Dong. The rest of the Yuan Sect disciples shot cold glares at Lin Dong and the others before following Yuan Song away. As the Yuan Sect retreated, the tense atmosphere gradually dissipated. Many Dao Sect disciples unclenched their sweaty palms. Despite their nerves, their eyes shone with excitement and exhilaration. Dao Sect had clashed with Yuan Sect many times over the years, but never with such satisfaction as today. "Are you all right?" Huan let out a small sigh of relief when she saw Yuan Sect retreat. She put away her Heaven Phoenix zither and looked at Lin Dong with a hint of concern in her large eyes, noticing the paleness in his face. "It took a lot out of me, but it's nothing serious." Lin Dong shook his head slightly. The battle had not been easy for him. Lei Qian, after all, was one of the 3 minor kings of Yuan Sect, a title he truly deserved. Without Lin Dong's reversal of the ancient cosmic formation, defeating him might have been impossible. This time, it looks like we've completely severed ties with Yuan Sect. "It's bound to happen," EngSubs sighed softly. "Originally, I hoped we could get through this competition peacefully, but from the start, Yuan Sect has been targeting us. Too much leniency will only backfire." After the long journey, she had come to realize that the animosity between Yuan Sect and Dao Sect ran too deep. Avoiding conflict was little more than a dream. Lin Dong nodded quietly. He hadn't intended to provoke Yuan Sect entirely, but their arrogance left little room for compromise. This wasn't something that could be resolved through mere tolerance. "When we enter the ancient vault of heaven burning, everyone should be on guard," Lin Dong warned. For some reason, He had a feeling that this ancient vault was far from ordinary and wouldn't be as peaceful as the other vaults they had encountered before. Brother Qingzhu, I'll have to trouble you to look after my sister when we enter. Lin Dong glanced at Qingtan, the girl in black, and said to Qingzhu, I don't need your concern anymore. Qingtan pouted, clearly displeased that Lin Dong still treated her like the helpless little girl she used to be. But her protest had little effect. Lin Dong merely cast her a glance before ignoring her. Don't worry, brother Lin Dong, Qingzhu replied with a smile. Master has warned me sternly not to let anything happen to our little junior sister. Lin Dong smiled and nodded. Then he turned his gaze toward the distance, where the Yuan Sect disciples had gathered in front of the distorted space. Yuan Song, at the forefront, slowly stepped forward, under the watchful eyes of countless eager spectators. They really do have a way to open the vault, Lin Dong muttered to himself, his eyebrows slightly raised. Under the gaze of the masses, Yuan Song clenched his fist, and a fiery red glow appeared in his hand. Inside the glowing sphere, it seemed as if flames were burning. With a flick of his hand, the fiery sphere shot forward, trailing a streak of fire as it flew toward the distorted space. Shoo! The fireball touched the distorted space, and ripples of fiery red waves spread out. Moments later, the crowd watched as the space slowly began to tear open. Beyond the rift, endless firelight emerged, radiating an ancient aura as though they were witnessing a scene from a bygone era. Boom! As the rift in the distorted space widened, the atmosphere grew even more heated. Countless pairs of eyes turned burning with desire. The ancient vault of Heaven Burning was a well-known treasure trove in the alien demon region. It was said to contain not only ancient martial arts and spiritual treasures, but also many rare artifacts from ancient times, including pure essence treasures. Such rumors were enough to make everyone here covet what lay inside. In the past, no one had been able to open the ancient vault of Heaven Burning, so while many coveted it, they were powerless to act. But now, with the vault opening, the greed in everyone's hearts erupted like tigers breaking free from their cages. Whoosh! The silence lasted only for an instant before the sound of rushing wind echoed. Several figures near the torn space couldn't resist any longer and shot towards the now-open ancient vault. Yuan Song watched those impatient figures indifferently, making no attempt to stop them. Wait! Lin Dong's eyes narrowed as he raised his hand, stopping the Dao Sect disciples who were similarly eager to move. As Lin Dong halted the Dao Sect disciples, those few figures had already charged into the Crimson World. However, the moment they entered, their bodies mysteriously ignited, and piercing screams echoed from within the red space, causing many to recoil in horror. In an instant, the figures turned into fireballs and quickly disintegrated into nothingness, as if reduced to ashes. This sudden and horrific scene was like a bucket of cold water dousing the crowd's greed, leaving many with fear in their eyes. Clearly, the ancient vault of Heaven Burning was not something just anyone could enter. At the front, Yuan Sect's disciples began to retreat en masse, leaving only a few dozen figures. Each of these individuals radiated powerful auras, all of them having reached the 8th Nirvana stage. These 8th Nirvana stage disciples, under Yuan Song's lead, then entered the ancient vault of Heaven Burning. This time, no screams followed, indicating that their strength was sufficient to withstand the scorching energy within. Only those who have reached the 8th Nirvana stage may enter the vault. The rest of you, stay here and wait, EngSubs decisively ordered after observing the scene. Hearing this, some Dao Sect disciples couldn't hide their disappointment, but they understood that those without the necessary strength would end up like the unfortunate ones earlier, reduced to ashes. Compared to such a fate, waiting outside was far more acceptable. Dao Sect's disciples quickly separated into groups, with several dozen 8th Nirvana stage disciples stepping forward. Though, in truth, Lin Dong's apparent strength was the lowest among them. Yet, no one dared to treat him based solely on his surface-level power anymore. After the brief chaos, other forces similarly picked out their elite disciples, and the sound of rushing wind filled the air once again as figures, like a swarm of locusts, flew into the Crimson World. This time, none of them suffered the same fate as those who had been burned to ashes. Let's go. Seeing the selections complete, Lin Dong didn't hesitate. With a low shout, his figure shot forward, followed closely by the Dao Sect disciples. Dozens of figures streaked across the sky, and the crimson world beyond the distorted space rapidly enlarged in Lin Dong's vision. As he entered, he took a deep breath of the scorching air, and a glint of anticipation flickered in his eyes. Like the others, Lin Dong was intrigued by the ancient vault of heaven burning. But more importantly, he wanted to understand the connection between this vault and the glowing plaque he had melted down from the bronze furnace. The moment Lin Dong's body entered the distorted space, he felt an intense and violent heat erupt from within. It was as if the heat was trying to set his body ablaze. Humph! The sudden change didn't faze Lin Dong. He had been prepared. Although the heat was violent, it posed no real threat to him. With a thought, his boundless primordial energy surged, forcibly suppressing the scorching heat. Just as Lin Dong suppressed the heat within his body, he noticed the space around him becoming unstable. Looking up quickly, he realized with surprise that EngSubs and the others, who had entered the vault with him, had all mysteriously disappeared. A sense of caution flashed in Lin Dong's eyes as he quietly activated his primordial energy and began scanning his surroundings. To his surprise, the scene before him wasn't the ancient palaces he had imagined. Instead, it was a vast crimson land. The air shimmered with heat, causing the space around him to appear distorted. So, this is the ancient vault of heaven burning? Lin Dong frowned as he observed the molten lava-like red earth beneath him. Slowly, he descended and touched down on the ground. The moment his feet touched the earth, a violent heat began to invade his body. The heat was so intense that it even stirred up an irritability within his heart. However, Lin Dong immediately noticed the rising agitation in his heart and swiftly activated his devouring power, absorbing the invading heat into his body. Something's not right, Lin Dong muttered, glancing around the vast crimson land. Aside from him, there was no one else in sight, despite the fact that so many had entered the vault. It was clear now that the ancient vault of heaven burning was no simple place, and anyone expecting to find treasures right away was in for disappointment. Well, since I'm here, let's see what tricks this ancient vault has in store, Lin Dong mused with a grin. He took a step forward and began walking toward the distant horizon of the Crimson Land. As Lin Dong moved, he noticed numerous cracks and fissures across the red earth, as if the land had experienced countless battles. Broken weapons were half buried in the crimson sand, exuding a desolate and ancient aura. This place, there must have been a massive battle here once. After walking for over 10 minutes, Lin Dong's brows furrowed slightly. The scars on the ground confirmed that an intense conflict had taken place here long ago. Is this the test of the ancient vault of heaven burning? He murmured to himself. He also realized that the entire space was filled with the same irritating heat that stoked one's aggression. However, with his devouring power, Lin Dong remained unaffected. I wonder how Huan and Qingtan are doing. Lin Dong pressed his lips together, a hint of worry flashing in his mind as he continued to wander aimlessly. Just as the thought crossed his mind, he heard faint footsteps in the distance. Raising his head, Lin Dong saw a small, familiar figure walking out from the swirling dust, looking slightly disheveled. Qingtan? Lin Dong blinked in surprise before a wave of joy washed over him. Brother Lin Dong. The small figure spotted Lin Dong, and a look of joy instantly spread across her face. She quickly ran toward him with excitement. Lin Dong smiled as he watched Qingtan running toward him, but the smile quickly froze on his face. Just as she was about to leap into his arms, he caught a glimpse of a cold glint in her hand. Sure, a dagger, shimmering with cold light, sliced through the air, aimed straight at Lin Dong's throat. At the moment the blade was about to strike, Lin Dong's expression turned grim. With a swift backhand, he unleashed a powerful palm strike onto Qingtan's body. Boom! A dull sound echoed as Qingtan was sent flying. However, upon hitting the ground, her body shattered, turning into a cloud of crimson mist that began to disperse and attempted to flee into the ground. But Lin Dong was quicker. As the mist tried to burrow, beams of devouring light shot from his fingertips, weaving into a net that ensnared the mist. The crimson mist thrashed wildly within the net, trying to escape, but with each impact, it grew thinner and weaker. Lin Dong stared indifferently at the diminishing mist, sensing that it carried no trace of consciousness. These things seemed to be eerily strange. Pop. Lin Dong's eyes flickered with contemplation before he clenched his hand, crushing the crimson mist. He then looked up, his gaze heavy as he surveyed the crimson landscape. The once ordinary land now felt ominously charged with an eerie atmosphere. What is this place? Lin Dong's voice held a cold edge. The earlier scene had been far too bizarre. So, I'm trapped, Lin Dong murmured to himself. His eyes flashed with a cold glint as he resumed walking forward. He was determined to see what this cursed place had in store for him. As Lin Dong continued wandering through the crimson space, things played out as expected. After Qingtan, Huan, Xiao, Wang Yin, and others appeared one after another. Each time, they attacked him without hesitation. While none of the attacks injured Lin Dong, a smoldering frustration began to rise within him. This damnable place seemed to be replicating people from his memories to challenge him. Boom. After Lin Dong shattered yet another imposter, his face darkened further. These replicas seemed endless, no matter how many he destroyed. Is there no end to this? Lin Dong muttered in frustration. As he looked up, another figure began to emerge from the twisted space ahead. Moments later, the figure became fully visible, and Lin Dong's expression twitched when he saw who it was this time. It was Qingzhu. This is getting ridiculous. With a cold gleam in his eyes, Lin Dong charged forward, throwing a powerful punch toward the graceful figure that had just appeared. The figure, clearly caught off guard by the sudden attack, hesitated briefly before stepping lightly, avoiding Lin Dong's punch with a graceful, intricate movement. Lin Dong was momentarily surprised when his attack was dodged. He quickly followed up with a cold sneer. Looks like these copies are getting smarter. As his words fell, Lin Dong closed in on the figure. At this distance, he could clearly see Qingzhu's elegant face beneath her veil, and even her slightly furrowed brows were visible to him. Boom. However, this did nothing to stop Lin Dong from attacking. His palm strike, filled with power, ruthlessly aimed for Qingzhu. Upon seeing Lin Dong's relentless offensive, a hint of anger flashed across Qingzhu's face. She raised her delicate hand, and with a surge of immense primordial energy, directly met Lin Dong's strike head-on. Bang! The force of the clash rippled outward, cracking the ground beneath their feet. Caught off guard, Lin Dong was forced back several steps, his face filled with shock. The strength of this replica was far beyond anything he had encountered so far. What are you doing? While Lin Dong stood there in astonishment, the figure opposite him furrowed her brows and spoke, her cold voice laced with a hint of irritation. You can speak? Lin Dong was stunned once more. Then, as a realization dawned on him, his expression darkened. You're the real Qingzhu? Qingzhu gave Lin Dong a puzzled look before nodding slightly. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong's face immediately flushed with embarrassment, realizing how foolish he must have appeared. He had just realized that he had indeed made quite a spectacle of himself.